When you think about ancient Rome, it often feels like a civilization we've got completely figured out. We've seen the films, read the books, the ruins are right there. It feels well known. But here's the thing that might surprise you. Ancient Rome is actually full of these persistent, really tough questions that don't have easy answers. So today, we're doing a deep dive into 10 unsolved questions about ancient Rome, our mission. To unpack these historical puzzles, these archaeological mysteries, and give you a shortcut to understanding what we still don't know about this incredibly powerful civilization. Expect some surprising theories, maybe a few genuinely creepy moments, and definitely some aha insights that might just change how you see Rome.
That's a really crucial point, because despite how meticulous the Romans were, and they were meticulous about records, about documenting their history, some things have just completely stumped historians and archaeologists for centuries. And these mysteries, they really force us to grapple with the nature of historical evidence itself. What can we actually know for sure? And maybe what are the things we might never truly know about the past?
Okay, let's dive right in with one that's, it's pretty macabre. Back in 2013, London was digging for its Crossrail project near Liverpool Street. And the workers found something quite striking. Dozens of human skulls from the Roman era. And what makes it even weirder is this wasn't the first time. Back in the 80s, near the same spot in the Walbrook Valley, they found another 39 Roman skulls. Wow. So multiple finds, same area, just skulls.
Yeah, and that's the core mystery, isn't it? The source and why only the skulls. No bodies attached. It's unsettling. There are a few main theories floating around. One idea is that these could be victims from Boudicca's attack on Londinium back in 60 AD. That was incredibly violent.
Right, the Iceni queen who led that huge rebellion, total destruction.
Exactly. So that's one possibility. Another is maybe it was an old burial ground, and over time, water currents just washed away the lighter bones, leaving the heavier skulls behind. Or perhaps it was something grimmer, a site of a forgotten massacre, maybe executions. And then there's a really intriguing kind of dark theory that maybe the Romans in London picked up a local Iron Age practice, a sort of head cult, where decapitated heads were used in rituals or as offerings.
Wow. So you've got massacre victims, flood deposits, or even ritualistic headhunting.
Pretty much. And the frustrating thing is, despite all these compelling ideas, none of them have been definitively proven. Archaeologists are still scratching their heads over those schools.
It's amazing, isn't it? Even in Roman London, a place studied so intensely, you dig down and find these profound questions about life, death, belief. Just lying there. Okay, so from isolated creepy finds, let's look at secrets kept by whole groups. Because if single skulls can baffle us, imagine the puzzles left by ancient mystery cults, groups that deliberately kept their practices hidden. A big one in Rome was Mithraism. It's often compared to the Eleusinian mysteries over in Greece.
Right. What we know is that Mithraism popped up in Rome around the 1st century AD, and it spread like wildfire across the empire. Worshippers met in these really distinctive underground temples. They're called Mithraea. And get this, we found ruins of over 400 of them. 400. That tells you just how widespread it was.
400 temples. So that's clearly a big deal. Especially popular with soldiers, right?
Yeah, very much so. But here's the kicker, the real mystery. Despite all those temples, all that popularity, we have 0 surviving texts that actually describe their rituals or beliefs. None. So we don't know how you join, what the initiation was like, what the core story or theology really was. It's a blank slate in terms of written tradition.
Nothing at all. That's incredible.
Well, there's iconography, reliefs in the Mithraea, but interpreting them is tricky. And there's still a big debate about its connection to the ancient Persian god Mithra. Was it a direct import, or did the Romans just borrow the name for something new? We just don't know for sure.
So beyond just being frustrating for historians, what's the implication? A major religion, empire-wide, and we barely know how they worshipped. Does that make you second-guess other things we think we know about Roman daily life?
Oh, absolutely. It forces heavy reliance on archaeology, on art, on trying to piece things together indirectly. It's a stark reminder of how fragile historical knowledge can be without primary texts. It makes you wonder, how many other aspects of Roman life that we think we understand might actually be based on incomplete evidence or even educated guesses because the direct proof is just gone? Or maybe it was never meant to be public in the first place.
That idea of a hidden layer to Roman life is powerful.
Yeah.
And it continues with our next mystery, actually. Let's head to Pompeii. You know, the city famously frozen by volcanic ash. There's an amazing place there, the Villa of the Mysteries. It survived the eruption, incredibly well preserved for over 2,000 years.
And its crown jewel is this one room, probably a dining room, maybe 15 feet square, but what's inside is breathtaking. 3 walls are covered by this continuous, amazing fresco, life-size figures doing various things, all against this incredibly vibrant red background. It's why the villa got its name, Villa of the Mystery.
Because no one knows what the fresco actually depicts, right?
Exactly. The meaning is totally elusive. There are theories, of course. Some scholars think it shows initiation rites for a mystery cult, possibly linked to Dionysus, the god of wine and ecstasy, given some of the poses and scenes. But others suggest something more mundane, relatively speaking. Maybe it depicts a bride preparing for her wedding, going through the traditional steps.
Or even a play.
That's another idea, yeah. Maybe it's illustrating scenes from a theatrical performance that was popular at the time, or even staged in the villa.
So we have these stunning paintings, perfectly preserved, incredibly rare, and we just can't quite read the story they're telling. It's beautiful, but baffling.
Precisely. The artistry is clear. The meaning, still debated.
Okay, from puzzling pictures to puzzling objects, let's talk about the Roman dodecahedron. Back in 1739, in Hertfordshire, England, someone found this weird artifact. It's made of metal, finely crafted, with 12 flat faces, a dodecahedron. Each face has a circular hole, and there are these little knobs at the corners.
And the really strange part, it's not unique. Over 100 similar objects have been found across Europe, mostly in what used to be Roman Gaul, so France, Germany, that area.
Right, so clearly these things were around, but
the Romans, who wrote everything down, never mentioned them. Not once. Anywhere. Scholars have combed through every known Roman text, inventories, letters, histories, technical manuals. Nothing. Complete silence. Which, given how consistent the design is across such a wide area, is just deeply weird.
So what are the guesses? What could they possibly be for?
Oh, the theories are all over the place because there's no evidence. Some say maybe just decorative objects, like a fancy paperweight. Or maybe pieces for some kind of game we don't know about. Others suggest practical uses, measuring devices, maybe for surveying land, or for calibrating pipes, astronomical tools, maybe even ceremonial objects used in religious rituals.
Could they have been weapons? Like part of a mace?
That's been suggested too, yeah, like mace heads. But honestly, they often seem a bit too intricate, maybe too delicate for that. The point is, we have absolutely no clue.
It's just baffling, isn't it? The Romans documented legions, taxes, road building. But these 100+ identical, complex objects, not a whisper, what it was. It's like they existed in a parallel dimension the writers never saw.
It really is one of the most puzzling gaps. The sheer absence of information is the mystery itself.
Okay, this next one, this really gets me. It's about something fundamental. Medicine, food, maybe even love life. We're talking about silphium. Imagine this. Ancient Roman text describes silphium as a kind of miracle herb. They used it for everything. Indigestion, sore throats, coughs.
And it was supposedly a powerful aphrodisiac too, and maybe even an effective form of birth control. It was incredibly valuable, literally worth its weight in gold at times.
They put it in food, used it in perfumes. It was clearly a massive deal in Roman life.
It absolutely was, which makes the mystery even more tragic. Silphium doesn't exist anymore.
Gone. Complete.
Pretty much everyone believes it was driven to extinction by the Romans themselves. The demand was just too high, they over-harvested it in its native North Africa, and poof, it vanished. Pliny the Elder, the Roman naturalist, wrote in the 1st century AD that he'd heard only one stalk had been found in his lifetime, and it was immediately sent as a precious gift to Emperor Nero. After that, silence.
Just like that. A plant that crucial wiped out.
Seems so. Now, there's always a little lingering hope. Some botanists wonder, could it still be out there? Maybe misidentified, growing quietly in some remote spot under a different name. Or maybe it was a specific hybrid, something unique that can't be recreated. We don't know. But as far as we can tell, this incredibly important plant is lost to history.
Wow. To think of something so vital just disappearing. It makes you wonder if its secrets are truly lost forever. Or maybe, just maybe.
It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it? Could it reappear?
And speaking of things vanishing, let's talk about the disappearance of an entire Roman legion, Legio IX Hispana, the 9th Spanish legion. Here's the paradox. Romans, as we've said, meticulous record keepers, especially the military. Yet, an entire legion, thousands of men, seems to just vanished from the records.
Yeah, it's a famous one. We know the ninth existed. It fought with Caesar in Gaul. It had a long history. Its last definitive record puts it in Britain, specifically in York, around 109 AD.
Okay, so we know where it was, then what?
Silence for a while. The big clue comes much later, under Emperor Marcus Aurelius, over half a century later. There's an inscription listing all the active legions at that time, and Legio ex Hispana is not on the list, which strongly implies something catastrophic happened to it sometime between 109 AD and the reign of Marcus Aurelius.
So what are the theories? Do they get wiped out in Britain?
That was the traditional theory for a long time, maybe destroyed by the Picts up in Scotland around 117 AD, ambushed, annihilated, the whole legion gone. Makes for a dramatic story. But there's no solid proof. No major battle site found. No definitive archaeological evidence. And complicating things, some later evidence, inscriptions, tile stamps seems to suggest parts of the legion, or maybe the whole thing, were actually stationed in Germania Inferior around modern-day Netherlands after 121 AD.
So that blows the Scotland theory out of the water, potentially.
It certainly challenges it. Then there's another idea. Maybe they were transferred east and met their end during the Bar Kokhba revolt in Judea around 132 AD. That was another incredibly bloody conflict.
Scotland, the Netherlands, Judea. They could have disappeared almost anywhere across the empire.
Pretty much. The core questions remain totally unanswered. Where did they go? When exactly did they meet their end? And why were they struck from the record so completely? For an empire built on its legions, losing one without a trace is, well, it's a huge historical black hole.
It really undermines that image of perfect Roman record keeping, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A whole legion just gone. Okay, from a lost legion to some rather spooky tunnels, let's go to Baiae. This was a Roman resort town, famous for its luxury villas and hot springs. Now it's partly underwater because of volcanic shifts. And it's here that some mysterious, frankly uninviting tunnels were discovered.
Yeah, uninviting is the word. Imagine finding just a small, dark hole in a hillside. You go in, and it's this narrow, winding path. It's hot, dark, and filled with this unpleasant, sulfurous smell. Not exactly a tourist spot.
Sounds charming. Who went in there?
Well, back in the 1960s, a couple of amateur archaeologists, Robert Paget and Keith Jones, decided to explore them properly. They were actually hoping to find the legendary Cave of the Sibyl, you know, the place where prophecies were supposedly delivered. They explored this whole network, which Paget dramatically named the Great Antrim, found flooded sections, dead ends. It was complex.
And what did they think it was?
Paget came up with a really wild theory. He argued these tunnels weren't just tunnels. They were designed to represent a journey to the underworld. Like a ritualistic enactment of the journey described in Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid.
A literal trip to hell underground.
That was his angle. He even speculated that Virgil himself might have been part of some secret cult that used these tunnels for initiation rites.
Okay, that sounds a bit much. Do serious scholars buy that?
Not really, no. Most historians are pretty skeptical of Paget's more elaborate ideas about Virgil and underworld journeys. However,
There's a however.
Most agree the tunnels probably did have some kind of ceremonial or religious function. Their location nearby, the strange construction, the heat and steam, it suggests something ritualistic was going on down there. But what exactly? That remains unknown.
So not necessarily a gateway to Hades, but still a place of ancient, mysterious ritual. Fascinating. Okay, from creepy tunnels to something we can see but can't get into. The burrito coffin.
Yes, this is a great one. Discovered in the ancient city of Gabi near Rome over a decade ago now. It's a lead coffin, about 1,700 years old.
And it's heavy, right? Like really heavy.
Immensely. Weighs about 1,000 pounds. But the truly unique thing is its shape. Instead of being a standard rectangular box, it's folded over on itself, like a giant lead burrito, basically.
Which is weird. Why would they do that? And who's inside?
Exactly. That's the mystery. Lead was incredibly expensive back then. So burying someone in 1,000 pounds of it, that suggests someone very important or very wealthy. Speculation runs wild. Was it a powerful priest? A really famous gladiator, maybe, whose patrons wanted a lavish burial? A prominent local figure? We have no idea.
Can't they just, peek inside?
Yeah.
X-ray it or something?
That's the problem. The lead is about an inch thick. It completely blocks standard X-rays or CT scans. You just can't see through it non-invasively.
And opening it.
Opening it risks causing major damage to whatever remains are inside. Archaeologists are, quite rightly, very hesitant to do that. They'd rather wait, hope technology advances to a point where they can see inside without destroying the contents.
So for now, this 1,000-pound lead burrito holds its secrets tight. We know it's important, We just don't know who or why. An incredible physical barrier to knowledge.
Absolutely. It's a literal closed case for now.
Okay, moving from sealed secrets to a secret weapon, perhaps. Let's go to 256 AD, the siege of Dura Europos in what's now Syria. Romans versus the Sasanian Empire. The Sasanians were tunneling under the city walls to try and breach them. Classic siege tactic. The Romans naturally started digging countermines to intercept them.
Right. And when the Roman counterminers broke through into the Sasanian tunnel, they charged in, expecting hand-to-hand combat. But the Sasanians had a nasty surprise waiting. They had braziers down there, burning pitch and sulfur. When the Romans charged into that confined space, the fumes, it created this dense, lethal cloud of sulfur dioxide.
Like poison gas.
Effectively, yes. In that enclosed tunnel, it would have been devastating, causing choking, burning lungs, probably pulmonary edema. The archaeological evidence suggests around 20 Roman soldiers were killed almost instantly by the toxic fumes.
Wow. So is that the first chemical warfare?
It's widely considered possibly the earliest documented example of chemical warfare in history, using toxic gases deliberately as a weapon against enemy soldiers. However, there's always a little academic caution. While the evidence at Dura Europos is compelling, detailed Roman records specifically describing chemical attacks like this are scarce elsewhere. So was it a one-off desperate measure or the start of a new brutal tactic?
We can't be totally sure.
Not 100%, but it certainly looks like a terrifyingly innovative and deadly moment in ancient warfare.
It really makes you rethink the swords and sandals view of ancient battles, doesn't it? Chemical weapons, 256 AD. Incredible. And finally, our last mystery isn't an object or an event, but a huge loss of knowledge itself. Titus Livius' lost work.
Titus Livius. He was an incredibly diligent Roman historian. His life's work was this monumental history called Ab Urbe Condita, from the founding of the city. It covered Roman history from its mythical beginnings right up to the empire in his own time, and it was massive. 142 volumes or books.
142 books. That's comprehensive. So what's the mystery?
The mystery and the tragedy is that only 35 of those 142 books have survived fully intact. The vast majority of his work is just gone, lost to time.
Over 100 volumes vanished. How did that happen?
Well, here's the real irony. Livy was so... The complete work was huge and maybe a bit unwieldy for the average reader. So other writers started creating summaries, condensed versions, like ancient Roman Cliffs Notes. One famous summary was called the Perioeci. And these shorter versions actually became more popular than Livy's original masterpiece. People preferred the quick summary over the deep dive.
So the summaries basically killed the original.
In a way, yes. Because the summaries were easier to copy and circulate, fewer copies of the full, massive original were made over the centuries. And so, gradually, most of the original volumes just disappeared, decayed, got lost.
And the impact of that loss today.
It's huge, because so much of Livy is missing. Our understanding of certain periods of Roman history, especially the earlier Republic, is much patchier than it would be. He covered events and details that no other surviving source did. We have massive gaps in the narrative of Rome because his work is incomplete.
It's incredibly humbling, isn't it? Thinking about what crucial stories, what details, what perspectives from the past are just gone forever, lost because scrolls decayed, or maybe because people just preferred the short version. It leaves you wondering what else we've lost without even realizing it.
Exactly. It's a permanent void.
So these 10 mysteries, they're really just scratching the surface, aren't they? They remind us that even Rome, this civilization we feel we know so well, still holds on to so many secrets.
Absolutely. And it raises a fascinating final thought, I think. Despite all our modern technology, our archaeological tools, our ability to analyze texts, some fundamental truths about even the most studied civilizations can remain stubbornly hidden. What does that really tell us about history itself, about the limits of our knowledge, and maybe what other things that we currently think of as solid historical facts might one day turn out to be just unsolved?